Hello and welcome to day 24 recap Karen Reed special. And oh my god, I didn't know we were having a test, but apparently we were having a test with Tully. Yesterday, again, we started out with Tully. Lally spent so much time going over the evidence. And let me promote another content creator. Brandy Churchwell, the 13th juror, great streamer, great creator, whatever you call people like us. Tully had prepared a map that they were showing the jury about where Karen Reed's phone might have been at some point, and it was impossible to see what they put on the screen. There were some lines, there were some squiggly bits. Brandy Churchwell, who is not working for the government, who doesn't have all your taxpayer money to do all the graphic, took a map, put in the same data, and made it easily readable. I'm wondering if she could make it that easy because she's a savant, or Tully had made that map impossible to read because his phone mast data showed that story. If any of you is on Twitter, you've heard from all the Karen Reed is guilty people that she went back to Fairview 34 in the morning, saw John outside, then she went got Jen McCabe and came back and saw John again, and that's why she saw him when no one else in the car could see him. We now know there's two masts closer to Fairview that her phone would have picked up on if she had went back there. She never pinged on those phones until they were back at the scene finding the body. I'm wondering if, again, this is sleight of hand from this crooked police department. Because if Brandy Churchwell, a lady, great content creator, very, very impressive what she can do, way better content than mine. But in her little home studio can put together a map that's way more visible, way easier to watch than what a trained pro from the state with all the monies the state have. She can make it more readable. At what point is it incompetence, and at what point is it clearly another attempt to kind of murk the picture so no one knows what is going on? It makes me wonder, and I believe this is not incompetence. We have the flipped Sallyport video. Well, we don't know. It's I don't know. No, you flipped it. There's Don't lie to me. Then you have that Sallyport video with 42 minutes missing. Well, we don't know. It's motion activate. I don't. Maybe. Why is it so dark? It's probably not working. When the state can't prove their own evidence in a way that's as easy to read after 2 years of preparation as a YouTube content creator can make in less than a day, then either you should be fired because you're such a bad officer or you're trying to hide something. You can't tell me, even though Brandy is an amazing content creator, that the state can't do what we can do in our studio. I don't know what her setup is, but it's probably roughly the same as what I'm sitting with, a couple of $1,000s in equipment, and she's still a better fact provider than the state, who probably spent millions preparing this case. Other than that, we saw the videos that we were told would be bombshells in this case. We saw a video from a temple which we were told was going to show us clearly her tail light was cracked. First of all, it's from the inside of a parking lot, and you can just in the top of the screen, like maybe this part of my screen, you can see a car pass by. You can see a black car passing by. You can see a dark SUV. Is it her car? Yeah, maybe. Who knows? Reasonable doubt. You can't see that the rear right tail light is blown out because, to the best of my ability, I see it lighting up red. If the tail light housing was gone, when she hits the brake or the rear light is on, that should be a big shower of white light coming out of that. Couldn't see that, and you just see it go by. And then we had the other one from the library. We see her pass by. Again, maybe it's her. It's a black SUV. We don't know if it's her. They didn't prove that. They said it was that. But how? They didn't say, well, we looked at we zoomed in and saw it's her license plates. There was, again, trust me, bro, it seems to be the way the state is doing. And again, all the pictures I saw red coming out of that tail light. You can say maybe it's that little light bar on the rear end of the car, I don't know what you call the trunk lid, whatever. But when I see it, I see red over there. If the jury does the same, reasonable doubt. Was the car gone? We've now been through all the technical evidence. I think the reconstruction of the taillight. We need someone to tell us how the taillight works and how it can light up red when it's not there anymore. Because then it needs a red bulb. No cars have red bulbs. It's all white bulbs, and then it's the plastic that makes the light the color it is. They need an expert to come in and tell us why it looks like it's intact on the ring video from when she leaves her house and the 2 videos from the temple and the library. Why didn't you show us? Why can't you prove what you're saying? It's a big problem to me. But Tully, yeah, they got in those videos. I didn't feel they landed, and it was absurdly boring. Absurdly boring. 24 days into a trial, the jury must be ready to quit. Were there any bombshells? Even the anti-Karen Reed side on Twitter didn't really pick up on anything other than, the light is gone. But you can't point to it, and that's reasonable doubt. They had her driving around with her phone. Well, yeah. And he told us how they measured that. And at one point, we had a little math quiz, which showed that her phone moved at 135,000 miles per hour. That's roughly half the speed of light. That might be a third of the speed of light. Can I remember the speed of light? Not important. But it was fast. And I know we have the Canton triangle where physics doesn't matter. But still, your data isn't good enough. You can't say she was here at that point because your data shows she could be roughly in that area. It has to do how the mass triangulates and how the signal is sent. Is there any atmospheric disturbances? There's a lot of things. So you can't even say she was here at that point. After that, we went to DNA experts. And that's when I fell asleep. I might have had my eyes open, but my brain took a vacation. We had a person telling us he took a buccal swab, which is just a scraping on the inside of the mouth, on Procter and Higgins. That's it. Bye-bye, see you later. Then we had a lady testifying about she did some testing, found John's DNA on his girlfriend's car. Biggest surprise in the world, his DNA was on her car. The car that has been has been sitting in his garage that he's been riding in that night. Not that big a surprise. And the thing I noticed was none of the DNA, except from a strand of hair, was pure John's DNA. Everything had at least one other contributor to the mix. And let's remember that picture from the Sally Port where the 6 bags of John's blood is right next to the car. Reasonable doubt. The defense didn't put it up, but will they mention it at some point? I don't know. But again, his DNA being on her car would have been a bigger surprise if it wasn't there, especially because it was parked in a garage. He must have rubbed up against it multiple times. That night, he could have swiped his hand across it when he walked. If you're in a tight parking spot, his hand could have rubbed up against the car. We don't know, but it's not unusual to find his DNA. The other side says, well, this is the damning evidence. Why? Then you had the hair. There was a lot about how they couldn't test it, and then they had to go with the female DNA. And they found out it matches John's hair. Again, John's hair on his girlfriend's car. I bet you if you go into your car right now and you have a girlfriend, a car, a kid, a dog, you will find their hair somewhere along your car. But there was a little thing they didn't mention, and the defense didn't ask any questions of these technical evidence. But if you measure the female part of the DNA only, anyone in relation to John's mother would have the same DNA. So in this case alone, at the house where Karen Reed parked in the garage, John's nephew, John's niece, and John himself could have contributed that hair. All 3 of them will have the same DNA profile because they all stem from the same mother. The mother get the DNA, the mother get the DNA, the mother get the DNA. It's not a hard evidence. I think the defense should have pointed that out, but they didn't. They didn't really go into any of the technical evidence. Then we had all the clothes, and no matter where they tested John's clothes, they found John's DNA. Big surprise. But what they also found was on his upper thigh, John's DNA plus 2 unknowns. To me, how is every DNA sample mixed and contaminated? Is it strong DNA? Is it strong evidence that John's DNA is on Karen's car? I think it sounds better than it is, and I would have liked the defense to hit back on it. The hair, the same, and I would really have loved the defense to go in and talk about all of this mixed DNA all over John's body. Because why is his upper thigh a mixture of 3 different people? In the end, we ended early because Lally probably didn't have a witness prepared. He probably thought that the defense was ready to go in on the technical evidence. Was it a good idea they didn't? I would have liked they pointed out the female DNA is the same for all members of John's family. And I would have liked them pointing out that the hair could have been there for a good reason. But day 24, done. We know a Lexus can travel by 135,000 miles an hour. Day 25, please, dear Lord, no more of this technical evidence. Let's go have a great weekend and get ready for it with a good, interesting day in court. Rumor has it, unconfirmed rumors, it's just something someone heard outside court. State might rest Tuesday. So hopefully.